Hello everyone, welcome back to Out of Spec Guide. You joined me in my friend Jordan's place, but I have my Polestar 2. I'm a proud Polestar 2 owner. I'll put some images of that on screen, and I've enjoyed owning it. However, this video is sort of a PSA to those of you who may be picking up a used Polestar 2 or its sister car, the Volvo C40 and the XC40 Recharge, because it's a very specific thing here in this video, but I think it speaks to a more general theme about how companies like Polestar and a lot of legacy auto brands operate. So this quirk of my ownership experience has to do with the key. Pretty boring thing, right, on my car. Well, you get two keys typically with most cars. When I get my Polestar, I had a certified pre-owned warranty. So I get two keys. But as you can see, with this open heart surgery that I'm doing on one of my keys, I had to, actually replace the battery. And in the process of replacing the battery, these things aren't super well made, so my screw up, I basically broke a plastic tab, but it's a really bad design. However, this kind of set off a series of events with me going to a service center, learning about what it actually costs to replace these keys. This, of course, not just being unique to Polestar and Volvo, but in this video, I want to make this as a PSA for those of you who are picking up, let's say, a used Polestar 2. Make sure you have all your keys. Be very careful with your keys. And if you are open-minded, consider that with Tesla, a lot of this process is so much easier. I am not a Tesla fanboy or someone who's trying to endorse it, but this is just one aspect of the ownership experience where I think they have it right. What Tesla does is, they have a credit card key that is the same size as you can see my Costco card here. I'm not trying to flex, but theirs is super simple and it's really cheap and easy to replace. So let me kind of compare it, talk about the numbers, the ridiculous prices I was quoted, the ridiculous price I've already had to pay, and all of that. All right, so let's talk about some numbers here. And I want to emphasize this is not just Polestar. This is a lot of brands that are in the luxury space. You basically get this key fob, which is, nice wireless handy key fob. It's, as they call it, hands-free. You can have it in your pocket and lock and unlock your car at your convenience.
The range is not good.
Sometimes it actually, takes a little bit of time. But anyhow, this key fob is, fine, but it's very cheap, as you can see. It's built from plastic. However, the cost of this is about $400 for the unit. And then to get these programmed to your car, it is another $300 or so. And this may be varying from service center to service center. You have to get it done at a dealer. And the story with me, right, as I mentioned in the intro, is that one of mine, I tried to replace the battery on because the battery seemed to be dying on it or the connectivity was flaky. And so typically that just means your key fob is on low battery. Tried to replace my battery, kind of failed and screwed that one up. And because it's a terrible design, there wasn't really an easy way of repairing it. I tried kind of taping it down, tamping down the coin cell, wouldn't work. So go to the Polestar, and the issue is, well, with my car, to get my phone to work as a key, which I really like doing, I needed all keys present in the vehicle. You need this also typically when programming additional keys to your car. And I love having my phone as a key. It's basically my primary key most of the time, the way many of you who maybe own Teslas also use it that way. Cars that have phone as key functionality, I think it's great. On the Polestar, it hasn't been always perfect, but it has typically improved with time. And while I still go most places with my key fob for just redundancy, having the phone as key is so convenient. You can literally get in your car, start it all just with your phone. But to get that to work with my new phone, when I picked up a new phone, I would need all the key fobs present. And that was a rough situation, having to unprogram the non-working key. Believe it or not, unprogramming that key was a process I had to do through a dealer, and that cost me money. Specifically, it cost me $250. So not particularly cheap. But that is what happens when you involve service centers and work like that in what should be a very simple process. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit how this works. Well, let's say Tesla, and basically what you can do if you're looking at a used vehicle to hopefully avoid a situation like this. All right, so with this key fob design, I did mention, right, the Volvo C40 and XC40 Recharge. The Volvo key is very similar to the Polestar key, maybe a slightly nicer. I think it has chrome accents, but it's basically the same process. So just if you have to replace the battery in one of your keys, be very careful when you get that screwdriver in there and go into that compartment, because if you break off these plastic tabs, it is very hard to retain your battery, and I could not get that to function again. So the service center looked at it and they effectively said that this key is totaled. And Exorbitant key replacement cost, maybe nothing new for the auto industry, but then I learned what it is like for Tesla, right? Because Tesla, as I mentioned in the intro, has these really simple plastic cards as backups. Typically, you do use your phone as a key most of the time in a Tesla, but let's say you just want to quickly share your car with a friend or your phone's out of battery, whatever situation, you can keep these in your wallet, scan them against the car's door pillar, and easily get into the vehicle. And I have friends with Teslas. I've seen this process. It's pretty easy. Most of the time you don't use them. It's fine. There is also a key fob for those of you who like having the wireless access to being able to, like unlock and lock the car. The Tesla sells it. I think it's like $200. And the beauty, though, isn't just the low cost, right? It's $40 to get a twin pair of those cards or $200 for their key fob accessory. The beauty is that you can do that yourself in the vehicle and program it in the software. What I find ridiculous with this whole process is that I had to go to the dealer, I had to go to the service center to get this done. And I think this is just an awful, awful process no one should go through. So to best avoid it, not only be really careful when you're changing your key, but if you're getting one of these vehicles like a Volvo or a Polestar, just consider the keys very carefully. Make sure it has all of the original keys with it because they are so expensive to replace. And if you do end up losing one of those keys, then or damaging it like I did, and you actually want to replace the key, then it'd be around $1,000, right? Because I just paid the cost to unprogram this one. I decided I don't need two keys at the moment, but yeah, $250 for that would have been another like $750, $760 just to get another key programmed. Another quick wrinkle I wanted to mention specifically with Polestar. Polestar has what's called an activity key, and depending on when you picked up your vehicle, I believe the 2022 and newer model years came with one activity key and one of these key fobs instead of two of these key fobs. Some of the launch edition models actually came with two key fobs and an activity key, so you get all three. But that also means that if you're picking up the car, make sure you have all the keys present. You can try to do that basically pairing phone as key process when you pick up the car and make sure that it actually is able to recognize all the keys in the vehicle so that you can safely pick it up and not have to worry about replacing them. You'd think that the sport or the activity key, being a smaller, simpler thing without some of the fancy remote functions, would be cheaper. But no, I think it's like $650 retail cost. It's very expensive, and it has a very hard to replace battery because it's water sealed. And so I've heard poor things about that. So I'm not planning on picking up one of those, but that's just another wrinkle to note with Polestar and them having two variants of the key fob. It's cool that they had that more, low profile one, the compact one to take with you if you're running or something, but maybe they should just be more like Tesla and give you an option to just have a cheap card and program those keys yourself in the vehicle. This is just what happens when you control a lot of your service operations through dealers. And dealers, if you know anything about their business, make a lot of their money through service. And I understand the business logistics of this, but then you consider a company that's direct to consumer like Tesla. Their service centers are just points to get their cars fixed. I'm not going to say everything is perfect with a Tesla. Look, I like my Polestar 2. I like the ownership experience of it a lot. I like when this key fob functions, even though I don't like how cheap it is. I think overall the car is built really well, and the interactions I've had with my service center have been perfectly fine. Like it's nice, and they take care of you. Yet the design of their vehicles, when it comes to these little things like these accessories, is just such a stain on the ownership experience, and it's really souring me because I had to basically pay a bunch of money to unprogram a key because it had a stupid design. Again, partially mea culpa here, just breaking off those plastic tabs, but it just was so cheap and it was so, I just really am not happy with that. I guess I do have this backup physical key, which is cool. With Tesla, it's a little bit more of a complicated process. We might make a guide video on what you can do if your car is out of battery or if you need to get into it. But, this is just one of those things that is different between a legacy automaker and a startup like Tesla in this situation. I'm curious if you had a similar experience with your Volvo or your Polestar vehicle, or if you're considering getting a used one and the key situation may steer you one way or the other. Let me know. It sounds silly. It sounds like such a little niggle that I have, but it's an important part of the ownership experience. It's how you get into your car. And I think this speaks to other little things that scare me a lot, honestly, with warranty. My car is a certified pre-owned vehicle, so I have a good warranty on the battery and a lot of very important, expensive components. But when it comes to little things like keys, well, if they're fragile and they're poorly built, then you got to be really careful with them. Don't lose them. Don't get them stolen. Don't save yourself the cost of unprogramming them. And Lord Lord forbid, having to program a new one with it. So my experience just recently with Polestar 2 ownership, just wanted to update you on that. Very quick video. Lots more to come on Out of Spec Guide this year. We've got Kyle, the Out of Spec Reviews channel, doing a bunch of exciting stuff with the Cybertruck. Also content to come with that on the podcast and detailing. So if you're interested in more of the Tesla world side of things, so much going on there right now. But at least in Polestar land at the moment, well, we've got some broken key fobs.